They say that it is better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all. I call BS on that statement, especially when it comes to bidding on comic book grails, because losing comic book grails is never okay, okay? If you're not first, you're last. Everybody knows the rules. And so in this video, I wanted to talk about a few auctions that I lost out on, a few grails that I lost out on because I did not follow my own advice when it comes to comic book auctions. The rules you must follow every single time you go into it. And we're going to talk about it in this video here today. And I'm going to give you guys some examples, and then I'm going to make some excuses as to why I didn't actually win the books. But either way, we're going to use this as a teachable moment for all of us out there in the comic book hobby. But of course, before I get into the video, if you guys could like, comment, subscribe, I would appreciate it. Help support the channel, doing those things. But let us get into this video here today. Now, let us get into the story. Let's paint the picture a little bit. One of my all-time favorite comic book grails, something that I have wanted to get in my collection for a long, long time, for multiple reasons. Captain America Comics #3. The entry-level copy of this book, the CGC 1.5 restored, below 5 figures, within striking distance for the everyman collector to spend $9,000 on a piece of old paper. It was right there for the taking this past weekend at the Heritage Weekly auction, just kind of low-key hanging in there. The first cover of Red Skull, the Alex Schomburg cover, first Stan Lee written work, the first comic where you have all of these legends coming together to work on some history. I mean, there are so many things to like about this book, folks. You got the bondage cover right there. You got the damsel in distress. I mean, look at Red Skull right there. Very, very cool Alex Schomburg cover, an ultimate grail. And yes, it is a restoration, pieces added, reinforced, small coupon missing from page 9. But again, a book that typically is always going to cost you well into the 5-figure range. This was going to be one of the best possible opportunities to get your hand on a quote-unquote affordable version of this book. As you guys can see, the auction ending for $8,400, which, yes, is a lot of money. But if you gave me the opportunity to make that purchase right now for $8,400, would I do it? Yeah, I absolutely would pay that price. Now, why, Swagglehos, did you not end up buying this even though you were well aware of it? Well, person out there who's going to rub it in to me not getting this comic book grail, I was enjoying the 49er game, okay? I was out there in the bar, 3 drinks deep, rooting for the most epic comeback ever, cheering on my team. So I got a little bit distracted. And really, this is the point I want to make. I got distracted. But the problem wasn't that I got distracted. The problem was I didn't follow the cardinal rule of auction bidding, which is to say you must know the price you're willing to pay for a comic book. I mean, I know that that is pretty obvious when you think about it, but this is actually very, very important, and more so than knowing your price. When it comes to you bidding on a comic book grail you're going after, you actually should know 3 prices when you are actually looking at a book. You should know the price that it is going to sell for that is too low for you to pass up. You should know the price that it is actually going to sell for, and you should know the price that you are willing to pay for a book if it is in fact a book that you actually really want. Fair market value be damned. Now, the problem with this particular book is that I knew the price that I was willing to pay for if it was too low. Meaning I was absolutely easily going to buy this book at $6,000, $7,000, even $8,000. My problem was I didn't actually know the price I was willing to pay for it if I actually really wanted it. Because going into the auction, this book was only sitting at around the $4,000 range. So I had in my mind that I was going to snipe this thing. And when the lot actually rolled around and the number started climbing, I did put in a couple bids, but it got to the point where at $8,400, having beer goggles on, I wasn't really sure if that was still a good price to pay. I didn't have it ahead of time planned out what my number was actually going to be for this book, even though if I had done my research and I looked into the history, you could see that $8,400 was going to be one of the cheapest entries into this book that you're going to see, at least in the last couple of years, where you have this restored copy at the 4.0 range that, yes, while it is a higher grade, and quote unquote, out of 4.0, this still did sell for $8,700, even though the resto on this is, in my opinion, worse than the resto on this, because in theory, I mean, I value this more at the 0.5 level because, yes, there's pieces added and it's reinforced, but I suppose hypothetically you could get that removed and there's a coupon cut from it. But we know that a 0.5 copy, which right here sold for $15,000. So I should have been able to tell what the fair market value price for this book was going to be. And I should have been able to identify what my actual I want this book price was actually going to be. But because I was in the elements, because I was distracted at the time, and because I wasn't clear on my prices, I let this one go by the wayside. Similarly, there was another book that actually sold on Comic Link just the other day, Captain America Comics number 37. Now you guys know what books I have been following quite often in my auctions right here, which of course are Captain America and Timely Schomburg covers. This amazing copy of Captain America 37, the 3.0 copy right here, classic flag cover, Captain America, you know, with the bomb, dropping it on the Nazi soldiers. You got Bucky right here with the flamethrower. Just one of the great Captain America covers right in the middle of the war, 1944. A book that ended up selling at the $9,000 price point. Now, my mistake that I made for this one is forgetting that Comic Link kind of acts a little bit like eBay in so much as you can't just bid like you would on Heritage, where you just kind of bid after bid and then eventually, you know, the clock winds down. You actually have to jam your bid in at the last second, which again reinforces that rule of you must know your price when going into an auction, the price you are willing to spend on a book if you want it. Because when you bid on Comic Link, that's the number that you actually want to put. Like for instance, if I was willing to go up to $10,000 because the previous sale for this was actually $9,600, I should have put in that $10,000 number. But that is not what I did in this one. I made the mistake of just hitting bid now on the next price as the clock wound down. And I think I ended up finishing my bid around the like $8,800 range, but then somebody actually jammed in a max number above that at the $9,000 level. And this again is one of those situations where, you know, if in a vacuum someone came up to me and said, hey, is this the grail that you want to purchase? You can have it for $9,000. I probably would have paid that number. Absolutely. I definitely would have done that. So that right there was another indication similar to the Heritage one where I went into that bid being a little bit distracted. I was actually at dinner at the time doing it on my phone. And again, I wasn't clear on the number that I had. Also, it was a technical error with Comic Link because I forgot that you had to put in max bid versus, you know, just like Heritage, which I'm more used to. It's just, you know, okay, the next bid and then eventually the clock winds down. I totally forgot to do that. But again, this is the work that you must do when you're going into auctions for grails that you actually want. You got to have your three numbers. The number that you're not going to let it sell below, the number that you know that the book is worth in terms of its fair market value, and the number that you're willing to pay because that's the number you actually want to have the book for. Now, it wasn't all losses, in my opinion, over this past week or so with the auctions that I was watching. There was another auction that I thought was interesting and I got better at because I was watching this book right here, Famous Funnies number 213. Beautiful, amazing Frank Frazetta cover, probably my favorite Frank Frazetta cover of the Famous Funnies run, the spaceship one right here. This is just one of those books that, you know, when you look at it and you really start to appreciate, you know, Frank Frazetta's work, his style, the line work, you really, you know, start to just fall in love with some of his covers, like his work, his detail, all of that stuff. And, you know, I'm a big sucker for purple covers. Obviously, on my channel here, on my logo, purple is a color that I really enjoy. So I tend to really like a lot of these books. And this is one that I would love to add to my collection. Now, I was following this book, and as you guys can see, it is a raw copy that is being advertised as a VG right here. Now, is it possible that this will grade out to be a VG? Yeah, I think it's possible that it would, but I had to protect my downside risk with this one, being that, you know, you could see this massive color break right along there. There's a color break across there. There's a chip right down there in the corner. To me, I was like, okay, I'm definitely not going to let this book sell for less than $2,500 because, you know, when you look at the point per grade on this one, you know, you could see 3K for 3.0, 4K for 4.0. I would assume, you know, 2K for 2.0, et cetera, et cetera. So that was my, that is the price that I think that I'm not going to let it sell below that. And then I would have evaluated this as like, okay, fair market value, maybe this is a 3.0 just in case it's not actually a VG. So I would say that this is the price, like $3,200, $3,400. Yeah, that's the price it probably will sell for. And then the wanted price, well, the wanted price would have been, you know, $3,800 or $3,900. That wasn't my personal wanted price because I didn't want it that bad for $3,800. But I could have identified what my wanted price was. And once this book got to around that $3,200 range, I was like, okay, it's definitely not the copy for me. I got to protect my downside risk. I don't actually think that that is the actual grade that is being advertised. I mean, it could be a 4.0, but I just, in case it got like a 2.5 or a 3.0, I think that that would have been a overpay for that particular copy. But hey, that's not my problem because I actually didn't end up buying that book. I just wanted to make a video talking about, some of the experience I've been having with comic book auctions recently, and the really, big rule, the most important rule that I think is important to share with you guys is knowing your number. You really have to know your number, and more so than knowing your number, you have to have those three numbers, the three key numbers. The price you're not willing to let it sell below, the price that you think that the book is actually worth, and the price that you are willing to pay because you actually want to win it and you don't actually care if you're overpaying for the fair market value. Anyways, that is my story. That is me losing out on a comic book grail that I really would have wanted to purchase, but I was, enjoying my 49ers go to the Super Bowl. So I got a little bit distracted and I wasn't prepared to make the bids when it actually came around to that. Anyways, that's all I got for this video. What do you guys think about this? What do you guys think about auction strategies going in? If you guys want me to, I can actually do a full detailed auction strategy for each sort of platform because they do really vary. Comic Link is different than Comic Connect, which is different than Heritage, which is different than eBay. And all of them have, various strategies that you want to have going into them, but all of them stem from the main strategy, which is really identifying the prices that you're willing to pay for certain items. Anyways, that's all I have for this video. Let me know what you guys think. Like, comment, subscribe. See you on the next one.